Andromeda by Charles Kingsley. Over the sea, past Crete, on the Syrian shore to the southward, dwells in the well-tiled lowland a dark-haired Aethiop people, skilful with needle and loom, and the arts of a deer and graver, skilful but feeble of heart, for they know not the lords of Olympus, lovers of men, neither bold broad Zeus nor Pallas Athene. Teachers of wisdom to heroes, with the oath of might in the battle, share not the cunning of Hermes, nor list the songs of Apollo, fearing the stars of the sky and the roll of the blue salt water, fearing all things that have lived in the womb of the seas and the rivers, eating of fish to this day, nor ploughing the main like the Phoenix. Manful with black-beaked ships, they bide in a sorrowful region, vexed with the earthquake and flame and the sea flood's stroke of Poseidon, whelming the dwelling of man and the tides of slow-footed oxen, drowning the beryl and flax and the hard-eared gold of the harvest, up to the hillside vines and the pastures skirting the woodland. Inlet the floods came yearly, and after the waters a monster, breathed of slim like worms which breed from the slim of the Nile bank, shapeless, a terror to see. And by night it swam out to the sweetest, daily returning to feed with the dawn and the road of the fiercest. Cattle and children and maids have terrified people fleet inland, feasting in sackcloth and ashes they come, both the king and his people, come to the mountain of oaks, to the house of the terrible sea goods. Hard by the gulf and rocks, where all old, the world-wide Gilak, sank to the inner abysses, and the lake where the fish of the goddess, wholly undying abide, and were prized feed daily with dainties. Where to the mystical fish, high-horned in their chamber of Keda, burned they the fat of a flock, till the flame shone far to the seawards. 3 days fasting they prayed, but the 4th day the priest of the goddess, cunning and spells, cast lots to discover the crime of the people. All day long they cast, till the house of a monarch was taken, Cephas, king of a land, the faces of all gathered blackness. When once more they cast, Cassiopeia was taken, deep bosomed wife of a king, whom of far-seeing Apollo watched well pledged from the welkin, the first of Ethiopian woman. Fairest, save only a daughter, for down to the ankle tresses, rode blue-black as the night, and broidered joy to behold us. All full and fair she rose, most like in a coming to hear, queen before whom the mortals arise, as she comes on Olympus. Out of a chamber of gold, with her son Hephaestus was wrought her, such in her stature and eyes, and the broad white light of her forehead. Stately she came from her place, and she spoke in the midst of a people. Pure my hands for blood, most pure is heart in my bosom. Yet one fault I remember this day, one more word have I spoken, which I spoke on the shore and I dreamed, lest the sea should have heard it, watching a child at her breast, as she plunged in the joy of her girlhood. Fair I called her in pride, when Antaria, queen of the ocean, judged ye if this be my sin, for I know none other. She ended. Wrapping her head in a mantle, she stood, and the people were silent, answered the dark brown priest. No word once spoken returned. Even with that in writing, shall God's excuse our rashness? With which is done, but besides, the wrath of the sea is against us. He is at the wrath of her brother, the sun god lord of the sheepfolds. When her hearthful boasted the daughter, Ay, folly, hateful our way to the gods. O so impious, like an mortal, fair woe be we to the glory, and hateful is that which is like it. Grim guise of a pride that dominate doom us to anger. What shall be like to gods? We are none who deep in the darkness ever abide, reforming man-handed, terrible, shapeless. Woe to the queen, for the land is defiled and the people accused. Take all their fur, by night woe will stare at Cassiopeia. Together with us in the night, when the moon sinks low to the westward, bind her aloft for a victim, a prey for the growth of a monster. Found the sea-girt rook, which is waged by the search forever. So may the goddess accept her, and so may the land make atonement. Puked be her blood from its sin, so be woe the doom of the rulers. Be then soul went out, Cephas and Cassiopeia, be then soul in their hearts wild round as the leaves in the end. Weak was the queen and rebelled, but her king, like a shepherd of people, willed not the land should waste, so yield the life of his daughter. Deep in the rain of the night, as the moon sank low to the westward, Way by the shades of the cliffs, with a terror of darkness around them, stole as a shame to a deep which became not the light of the sunshine. Slowly the priests and the queen and the virgin bound in the gallery, slowly they rode to the rocks. But Kifosfan the palace sate in the midst of the hall on his throne like a shepherd of people, choking his woe dry-eyed while the slaves were loudly around him. Way on the sea-curved rock, which is reached by the surges forever, sat he in silence, the guiltless aloft with a face to the eastward, and the crack of a stone where it sloped down to water. Where they sat Andromeda, most beautiful, shaped like a goddess, lifting her long white arms widespread into a wall of a basalt, chaining them roofless with brass, and recalled on the might of the rulers. Mystical fish of the seas, great queen whom Ethiop's honor, women will land rough, unavoidable sharp as a stingray. Bone the brave of the sun, brain smite, log of a shepherd, searching the earth all day, and resetting at night in the bosom. Take yet this one life for many, appeased by the blood of a maiden, first and born of a first, and queen, the most priceless of victims. Fiercely sped as I went by the maid, but the mother delaying, fondled the child to the last, heart crushed, and warmed of her weeping, fell the breast of the maid, as here who broke forth into wailing. Daughter, my daughter, forgive me. Of course not, for murderers, of course not. How have I sinned but in love, to the gods' cruel glory to mothers, loving about way and vain in the fake whose bright bed of severs, loving a feet they intended, and loving rejected the beauty, blessing the limbs as I baited them, and blessing the looks as I caught them. Deacon thee, repining true, I blessed thee, yet blessing I slay thee. However sin but in love, oh swear to me, swear to the mother, never haunt me with curse, or as I go to the grave in my sorrow. Childless and lone, the gods never send me another to slay it. See, I buries her knees, soft knees, when no babe will be founded. Swear to me never to curse me, the helpless one, and not of a death bang. Weeping she clung to the knees of her maid, and the maid now answered, Curse thee, not in a death pang. The heart of a lady was lightened. Slowly she went by the ledge, and the maid was alone in the darkness, watching the pulse of her horse die down as her own died with her. Tearless down with the mace she stood, as the storm-stunned nestling, fallen from both, from eve-lie stump, which her home-going heartsman fancied stone, till he catched the light of its terrible abhor. So through the long, long hours the maid stood helpless and hopeless, wide-eyed, downward gazing in vain into black, blank darkness. Then at last she began. Wild thoughts bubbled within her. Guiltless I am, by what then? A gods more ruthless than mortals. Have I no mercy for youth, no love of a soul who have loved them? Even as I loved the great sea, as I played with the margin, blessing the wave as it colded me, the wind as it breathed on my forehead, bowing my head in the tempest, and opening my heart to the children, severing fish wherever it shall, and the strange little things of the water. Then let it cast my back, as we gazed on the beach in the sunshine, home to their mother in vain. For mine sits childless in anguish. Oh, false sea! I dreamed what I dreamed of thy godness, dreaming of a smile and life, of a lord of the past, of a rebel, false and ruling of a world, and a great work dark and despiteful. If by your own rash words she was still, and eyes to the sweetest, looking for an answer path in the heart of the darkness. Light with misty roses slowly, went of them to wandering ocean, glimmered and glowed to the deepest abyss, and the knees of a maiden, trembled and sunk in a fair, like a dawn of the midnight, rose from the secret chamber of a choir of mystical sea maids. Onward toward her they came, and her heart beat loud at the coming, watching the bliss of the gods, as they waked the cliffs with her laughter. Onward they came in with joy, and before them the roll of the surge sank, as the breeze sank dead at the smooth green flow of the canal. Every and the cracks of the cliff and the pins of the mountain were silent. Onward they came with joy, and around them the lamps of the sea nymphs were large fire globes, some panting and heaving, and rainbows. Crimson azure and amber were broken with stars, shower lightning, for through the wine-dark depths of a crystal the gardens of a rose, coral and sea fair and tangled, the blooms and the palms of the ocean. Onward they came in their joy, more white than the foam, but they scattered, laughing and singing, tossing and twining, while edge of the tritons, blinded with kisses were eyes, and reproved the broken worship. and wherever the turns of the sea gales swept past them on the shivering pinions, and showing soft of laughter, and round them the winding dolphins cycled as a plant full of love, and were great seahorses which sport them curved and increased and were bright to the delicate arms of the maidens, pouring the spring into gems, till the fired rainfall and harming, sparkled and gleaming on the limbs of the nymphs, and the coils of a murmur. Onward we went in the joy, bathed round with fire coals, needing no sun nor moon, self-lightened, immortal. But others, pitiful, floated in silent apart, in the bosoms of the sea boys, slain by the wrath of seas, and swept down by the anger of nerves. Hapless, whom never again, on strand or on the trail, shall the mothers. Welcome with greylands and roams to the temple, wearing pain gaze over island, and bathe of the sails of the sunken. A helpless sleep in soft bosoms for every and dream of the surge and the sea maids. Onward we passed in the joy, on their brows neither sorrow nor anger, self-sufficing as gods, never handing the woe of a maiden. She would have shrieked for their mercy, but shame her to dump in the eyeballs. Stared on the careless, and still like the ice in the house of a seal, seeing they saw not, and paced like a dream on the murmuring ripple, stunned by the wonder of gaze, too wide-eyed as the glory departed. Of fair shapes fair were nigh, too fair to be ruthless, gladden mine eyes once more with our splendor and with fancies. You, when, smiled at the sea gleam, and laughed at the pleasure of the ripple, awful deemed you and formless, inhuman, monstrous as idols. Lo, when you came, you were woman, were lovely only, like an all heads, and I blessed you. But blessed ye not me for my worship. Had you no mercy for me, was guiltless, you pities the seas, boys, why not me, when, more hapless by far? There's your sight and your knowledge, and of the march of the waves, as a world which you doiled in, not our world. Over the mountain aloft ran a rush, and roll and rowing. Downward the breeze came in, and leaped with a howl to the water, rowing and craning and crack, till the pillars and clefts of the basalt ranged like a god-slipped arrow, and the brain grew made with the noises, crashing and lapping of waters, and sighing and tossing of free beds, gurgle and whisper and hiss of the foam, while thundering surges boomed in the wave-worn horns as it jammed at the roots of the mountain. Hour after hour, in the darkness, the wind rushed fierce to the landward, drenching the maiden with spray. She shivered weary and drooping, stood with a heart full of thoughts, till the moon crest gleaming in the twilight, leaping and laughing around, and the east grew red with groaning. When on the right of the hills rose the broad-bringed sun in his glory, hurling his arrows abroad on the glittering crest of the surges, gilding the soft round bosom of wood and the domes of the coastland, gilding the reeds at the feet, and the foam-laced teeth of the ledges, shone the maiden her home through the veil of her looks, as it floated, glistening damp with spray, and a long black cloud to landwards. Hung the far of glens rose and blue curls from the homestead, softly rose of the hearts, and the pipe of an outgoing herdsman slide to her ear on the water, and plumbing her heart into weeping. Shuddering she tried to forget them, and strained her eyes to a seaward, watched for a doom as awaited, but in vain, to the terrible sun good. Those do not pity me, son, for the wild duck says that be ruthless. Thus was not pite me here, as thou seest me desolate weary, sink with shame and despair like a kid torn young from his mother. Whatever beauty insult thee, when blighted, but me, oh spare me yet ere he be here, fear steering unbearable. See me, oh tender and soft and fast helpless, see your shadow fenceling on in my doom, but so shine was bright when it takes me, or where no death's safe this great sun, no thirsty arrow, lightened or deep-mouthed wave. Why thus, what music is shrinking, pleasure and warm live limbs torn slowly, and just so behold them. Oh, for haste watch was dates, and sights alike to the brightness. What if awaken the birds to a song, those to awaken a song, waken or sick to the pain, who kept the wretches at the fierce, smite on the garden and forward on the maidens who sing at the milking. Flesh and timorous jealous, and peep in the eyelids of lovers. Slumber blissful their bliss, dost laugh when the place where thou smilest, lovers were set as a flame, fierce blows and the shriek of the weather. Love is for corpse, strewn fields, as for light in the path of witches. Love is for feasts, will for gaze, so gay on my tears and my mother's, laughing alike at the horror of one and the bliss of another. What does was care the sky for the joys and the sorrows of mortals, cold over the nymphs, ever born bright eye and seeing, hates for a soul, as much trouble as the slaves in the house of my father, wouldst thou not save? Poor thrall, they pitched me, clung to the weeping, kissed my hands and my feet. What are gods more ruthless on mortals? Was from the soul which they ruled, let me die. We war not wish a sight, sudden she kissed with shrink. And the spray like a river full boy hung more fair when he full boy. A boy with blown as his manhood, golden haired, ivory limbed, embroidered of a shoulder, hung for veil of his beauty the gold fringed folds of a goat's skin. Being the breast of his child, as the sunflash clear on his clearness, curved on his finger lay a falchion, and in the gleam of his helmet eyes, more blue than the main shone awful. And around him a tail, sheet in a love, such grace, such state, and terrible daring. Roaring over the water he came, upon glittering pinions, leaving a run outgrown from the tight-laced gold of his sandals, bound from billow to billow, and sweeping increased like a seagull. Leaving the gulfs of surge as he laughed in the joy of a leaping, fair and majestic he sprang to the rock, and the maiden in wonder gazed to a while, and then heightened the dark rolling waves of her tresses, fearful, light of her eyes, with the boy, for sorrow had worn him, blushed at the blushes and vanished. Like mist on the cliffs at the sunrise, fearful at length she looked forth. He was gone. She, wild with amazement, wailed for her mother aloud, but the wail of a wind only answered. Suddenly he flashed into sight, by her side, in his pinion anger. Moist were his eyes, and his breath like a rosebud, his bolder and bolder, hovering on her brows, like a swallow haunted by house leaves, delicate handed. He lifted the veil of her hair, while the maiden, motionless, frozen with fear, wept loud till his lips unclosed. Poured from the peeled strum, poured the music a wave of his wonder. Ah, well spoke she, wise one, her grey-eyed palace attain, known to mortals alone are the prices which life over heroes. Reed prepared at the feet, were crying a little the rulers, payback were alone thankful to the man who, careless of pleasure, thirsting for honor and toil, fares through from the perilous errand, led by the guidings of God and strong with the strength of immortals. Thus had they lead me to thee, from afar knowing, I mark thee, shining a snow-white cross on the dark green walls of a sea cliff. Carved in marble I deemed thee, a perfect work of a craftsman, likeness on feet rare, of far-famed queen Freya. Curious I came till I saw how the tresses steamed and received wide, glistening black as the night, and the lips moved slow and were wailing. Speak again now, speak, for my soul is dying derangely. Tell me what brother's heart without law, unrighteous and heartless, hateful to God and to men, must have bound thee, ashamed of sunlight, scorn and praise to the sailor. But what price now for a cold and shameless were here, whose finding glorious jewel, castle reset by fool, would not win it and keep it in word, even as I will thee, for I swear by the hand of my father, bearing way over sea wave to wait ray and Argos with fruitful, beautiful meat of a toil, no less than this head with a carry, hidden her fearful, speak. But the maid still dumb with amazement, where her bosom with riping had longed from home and her mother, beautiful, eager, he would her, and kissed of her tears as he homeward, roving at will, as it be, on the brows of a rock-nymph haunted, gallant over his wine, and actors in clambering roses. Cold with fierce still noon, where streams glanced clear in the moss-bed, humson from blossom to blossom, and mingled so sweet as he tasted them. Beautiful Agile, he kissed her, and clasped her yet closer and closer, praying her still to speak. No true, no ruth, did my mother, bear me to board broad Zeus, in the depths of a breast of a dungeon, neither vain as I think. I have a cold with tongue of Hermes, face unto face as the friend of our grey-eyed palace attain, learn what is fit, and respect myself to respect in my dealings. O so the gods shall love, so fear not to chaste expulsions. Only I who thee and swear with a queen, and alone without rival by me for sitting in Argos of Hellas, throne of my fathers, worshipped by fair-haired kings. But gods was still on the mother. Why did she leave these was here? For no foeman is boundary, no foeman, when with strokes of a sword, such surprise, would so leave it behind me. Just as at first some cold, wide-eyed with craning nostril, plunked in fear of a curb and with flapping ropes of a rider, soon grown bold with his spires up midst to the weight of his master, 10 by 10 by each hour, and at last, in reply of obedience, answers the heel with a curvet, and arches his neck to the foreland, covered by beneath that maid grew tame, with a hero indignant, toyed with feathers which held her, her breast too cunningly tempered, held to rock by the nails deep wrenched, till the boy, reeked with anger, drew from his ever-night keep flashing affliction of diamond. The lateral work of a smith try strength with the arms of immortals, dazzling at fear. And the blade, as the wine-hook shed of the wine-bow, carried through the strength of her breast, till her arms fell soft on the shoulder, when she essayed to escape. But the ring of water was round her the rings of his arms, and displayed the thing on his bosom. When like a fawn when startled, she looked with a shrink to seaward. "Touch me not, wretch, that I am!" Acute shame and a hissing, guilt as accrued, not less. I await revenge of the sea gods. Yonder comes, God! Let me perish unseen, if I perish. Spare me to his shame of thin ice, when merciless fangs so much tear me, price me, and after endure by myself in the light of the sunshine. Guiltless, the death of the kid. But the boy still lingering around her. Love like a boy to forget her, and rang the cliffs with his laugh. Yon is the woven, a beast of the sea. I deemed him immortal, to turn Brutus, self-honoring foeman of sailors. Yet would I fight with them, or Poseidon shake off mountains, uncle of mine, whom I fear, as it fit, for your haunts on Olympus, howling with third of a word, the gods are rising at his cups, unto none else will I yield, God help. How winter monster, child of the earth and of night, and rears and shapeless accused, and woe too good when a god. No god I, smiled he answered. Mortals were ye diving, but mortals were heard of the ocean, ego to man and that only, and less than all else, for her notion. Blindly in life of the lips, untaught by the gods, without wisdom, shame never fled before such. In my heart, new life was enkindled. Worship and trust, fair parents of love. But she answered him slightly, "Beautiful, why would I? As the light of the sun went so worthless to sport with the fellows in forage gates of the forest, and the broad green oaks. Whenever again shall I wander, to sing a ball with a maiden, of wearing wild-tongued garlands, careless with dances and songs, till the green ring loud to a lava, too full of death to sad earth is already. The hall full of weapons, curled the tombs, or cliffs, and the bones gleam white on the seafloor. Nevertheless, cannon by the heart or hand of the pitiless sea gods. Even as mine will be soon, and yet now will it seems to me dying, giving me life for people who saved to the arms of their lovers, maiden and useful way. Be first of all should I slay thee. Add not the boots to the many, was angrily adding the dreads once, and with a monster will crush, of sea queen, self-overwhelm thee, wingful and tempest and foam, and the thundering words of the surges. Well, woe, when you follow me down, can we laugh in a black darkness? Laugh in the realms of the dead, in the land where all is forgotten. Why will they follow me down? Is it giant but is not ours? Ragged of flint? Where goes in the deeps of the great salt water, beautiful. Why will I and you for fair girls of a manhood, surely one waits for way longing, a fair violence of the ocean. Go away, am I, of a god's great pleasure to mortals, sobbing the ended, her moon as a neck like a stormy Lynn. Drop the weight of her woe, and her limbs sink, wearing with watching, soft on the hard and rock. But the boy, with his eye on the monster, clasping her, stood like a god, and his lips curved proud as he answered. Great are the pitiless sea gods, but great our Lord of Olympus. Great are the eagle's riders, and greater is she who attends him. Clear, just as her name is, the consular of Atene. Help of heroes who dare in the God-given might of the manhood, greatest to do to suffer, and far in the fence and the forest. Swifters of men, heaven-aged and brute of giants, transformed strange revolt like or bane of the golden-haired rulers, may you bearing my reach till we die by the sword of the heroes, even as I must die, for I burn with the wrath of my father. Wandering, led by Atene, and there whatsoever betide me, led by Atene, I won from the grey heart terrible sisters, secrets hidden from men, when I found them sleep on the sandheads, keeping their eye and the tooth, till we showed with the close pathway of the riverless ocean, the fall shall but lead to a garden. You too I slew my craft, but who's of a beautiful horror? For Bettina I slew her, and saw not herself but her image, watching a river of brass and the shield, with a goddess had led me, cleaving a brass-scaled throat, and she lay with the edge to crown me. Fearless I bore of her head, and the folds of her mystical goatskin, hide of familiar, fairness of a gas wilder. I will be it, and give to the gods and death to my foeman, freezing the sea to stone, to hide with eyes from the horror. Kiss me but once, and I go. And we lifted her neck like a seabird, praying up our way from the foam white shells of the bosom. Blushing, she kissed him, found at whom was the Dalian's humid, laughing the joy of her heart, fair seeing the queen of Aphrodite. Losing his arms from her waist, he flew her award, awaiting the sea beast. Onward it came with the southward, spiky and black as the galley, lazily coasting along as the fish fleet leaping before it, lazily breasting the ripple and washing by sandbar and headland, listening for laugh of maidens at bleaching, or song of a fisher, children at play on the playbills, or cattle that plod on the sand hills, rolling and ripping and came, rebelling and gusting purple, caught on the cold sea weeds, leave a long white sits of a maiden, trembling, her face in her hands, and her tresses aloft on the water, as when an osprey aloft, dark A-browed, roll-crested, flex on by creek and by cove, and it's gone of anger of nervous, reach the king of the shore, if we see on a gritting shallow. Chasing the bass and the mullet, the fin of a walrus dolphin, halting he reeled round slowly, and dogged at the rate of his crowley, whether to clutch it alive or to fall on the ridge like a plummet, stunning with terrible tone on the life of the brain and the hind head. Then rushes up with a scream and stopping the reft of his eyebrow, falls from the sky like a scar, while the wind riddles horses in his pinions. Of them close the form for a moment, and ridden from the sand bed was of a great fish, dead, and his slight gleams within the sunshine. Thus fell the boy on the beast, unveiling the face of a Gorgon. Thus fell the boy on the beast, thus word of the beast and his horror. Once as the dead ace glad into this, when his sights, deaf shut and stiff and start, broken rock and the wash of a running waiter, beautiful egg triumphant, he leaped back against to his treasure, leaped back again for the blessed sword, arms spread with the greases in him, brimful of honor, he grasped her, brimful of love, she caressed him, answering lip by lip, while above them the queen, Aphrodite, poured on the foreheads and limbs, unseen bruises, odors, give fear of longing and rapture, and chaste contents and asperities. Happy you may be wedded, and rejoiced she, the queen of Aphrodite, laughing she called to her sister with chaste beauty Athena. Sees the wonder of a pupil, well made of her aegis wider, how he was turned himself wholly to love and careless a damsel, dreaming no longer of honor or danger or palatine. Sweeter it seems to the young my gifts are, so yield me the stripling, yield him me now. Let she die in his prime, like helpless Adonis, smiling she answered in turn, with chaste dream dear Athene. Dear unto me, no less than to thee, and when we talk of heroes, dear who can worthily win him a wife, not unworth and noble, pure for purity, brick and brave child, the like of her fathers, happy by those stands lying to the heroes who were, and who shall be, kettle of the foulest death, not sparing or safe. For his mother, watch the steps of the eyes of the gods and his wife and his children, both are proclaim, and to do the farm, and to camp, and the council. Thence comes we to an action. But woe upon woe with the people, mang and laugh of our will, like the brutes, not heading the future. When from the gods strung low, as she watered the chamber of cedar, awful and fair she arose, and she went by the cleans of Olympus, went by the silent islands of the sea, and the wind never ruffled her mantle, went by the water of Crete, and the black-beaked fleets of the Phoenix, came to the sea-girt rock, which is wasted by the sugars forever, being the wealth of gods, a gift of a bride of a hero. There she met Andromeda and Persia, shaped like immortals. Solemnly and sweet was her smile, whilst their hearts beat loud at her coming. Solemnly and sweet was her smile, as she spoke to the pair of her wisdom. Three things hold we, the ruler who sit by the fountains of Olympus, wisdom and prudence and beauty, and freely we pour from a mortgage. Pledged that our image in man is a father and his in his children. One thing only we grant to mankind, when a hero unthankfully boasts of our gifts as his own, stiff-necked and dishonors the givers, telling our errors against him 8 follows avenging. Slowly the tracks him unsure, a slim hound. Suddenly she grips him, crushed him, blind in his pride, for sign and total folly. This we fate as is fit, and our lads never wearing of giving. Come then, damsel, and know, for God's great pleasure to the mortals. Laughing and gentle she spoke, but the maid stood in Elf's goodness, plainted with soft, swift fingers addressed, and dinked her instruments, armlet and ankle and earball, and over her shoulders a necklace heavily enabled with flower of gold and the breast of a mountain. Trembling with joy she gazed, as well Herodes had made it, deep in forgotten of Athena, while she was his lady beside him, mingled grace and his grave as he rode for sister Athena. When the brows of a maiden, a vagabond pilot's Athene, it fell to her feet, deep frightened or wonder of weaving. Ages and ages agone, it was roof on the heights of Olympus, wrought on the gold-strung loom by the fingers of cunning Athene. In it she wove all creatures were dreaming the warmth of the ocean. Near Siren and Triton, and dolphin and early fishes, glittering round anyhow on the flame-red fonts of a metal. In it she wove, too, a tone where grey-haired kings sat in judgment, spectre in hand, in the market they sat, doing right by the people. Rise, where they both watched justice, and near, far-seeing Apollo, wanted she wove for fringe all herbs of the earth and the water. Violet is folded, ivy and viny leaves, roses and lilies. Cowl and seed then entangled the blooms and the palms of the ocean. Now from Olympus she bore it, a daughter of a bride of a hero, of the limbs of a damsel she wrapped it. The maid still trembled, shaping her face with her hands, for the eyes of a goddess were awful. When as a pine upon either, when southwest winds blow landward, stately she bent to the damsel, and breathed on her, and her breathing taller and fairer she grew, and the goddess spoke in her wisdom. Courage I give thee the heart of a queen and the mind of the mortals. God liked to talk with the gods, and to look at their eyes unshrinking, fearing the sun and the stars no more, and the blue salt water. Fearing us only, the lords of Olympus, friends of the heroes. Chastely and wisely they govern thyself and the people, and thy people, being godlike grace to the spouses, still dying, I said thee. High for a star in the heavens, a sign and a hope to the seamen, spreading the long white arms all night in the height of the harbor. Hard by desire and the hue of his spouse, while near by the mother sits in an ivory chair as she plaits ambrosial tresses. All night long while shine, all while feast on Olympus. Happy the guest of the gods, the husband, a god begotten. Blissful they turned them to go, but the fair-dressed Pallas Athene rose like a pillar of tall white cloud towards silver Olympus, far above ocean shore the peaks of island of the mainland, where no frost, no storm is, and clear windless abysses. I am the home of the summer, the seat for happy immortals, shrouded in clean, deep-blazed, unapproachable, wherever youthful. Hebe, Harmony, and the daughter of Jove, Aphrodite, wild and reviling dance with the gold-crowned hours and graces, hand with hand with clear pipe Pope, queen of the woodlands. All day long way she rejoiced. While Athene still in the chamber, lent herself over a loom as the stars rang loud to his singing, chanting of order and right, and of foresight and warden of nation, chanting of labor and craft, and of wealth and the port and the garner, chanting of valor and fame, and the man who can fall with the foremost, fighting for children and wife, and the field with his father bequeathed him. Sweetly and solemnly sang she, and planned new lessons for mortals, happy, who hear the boy her, a wise, unsullied Athene.